So hi guys, so in this series we're going to talk about the cardiovascular system, and in my first video or in today's recording we will be discussing about the function of the heart, the anatomy, and we will explain about cardiac output. The function or the role of the heart plays the following roles in the human body. First of all, it receives the unoxygenated blood from the veins, and this unoxygenated blood will be pumped to the lungs for oxygenation. Once the blood is oxygenated, it will be pushed out to the other parts of the body. And another role is that it maintains blood pressure. In the next slides we'll be discussing more about how it maintains the blood pressure. The anatomy of the heart can be divided in two parts, the right side and the left side. The right side, as we can see the right atrium and the right ventricle. The left side, we have the same, the left atrium and the left ventricle. And we have four valves: the pulmonary valve, the tricuspid valve, the mitral valve, and aortic valve. And also the aorta, as we can see, the aorta is the biggest artery in the human body. And as we can see, the inferior vena cava and the superior vena cava. The next slide we'll be discussing more about the function of each part of this. So the heart receives the unoxygenated blood from the inferior vena cava and superior vena cava, and as we can see, the blue means that this is here is the unoxygenated blood. First of all, the unoxygenated blood will be filled in the atrium. The right atrium will push this unoxygenated blood to the right ventricle and through the tricuspid valve. This unoxygenated blood then will be pushed into the pulmonary artery by the pulmonary valve, and there it will be oxygenated in the lungs. Once it's oxygenated, it will get into the left atrium, and from the left atrium it will be pushed into the left ventricle through the mitral valve. From the mitral valve, then it will be pushed at the end to the circulation or to the other parts of the body through the aorta. So yeah, this is the function of each part of the heart. What's the cardiac output? Cardiac output is that it describes the amount of blood, or it is the amount of blood that the heart pushes through the circulation in 1 minute. So how much blood the heart pumps into the circulation in each minute. Why we have to know the cardiac output? Because the cardiac output indicates how efficiently the heart can meet the demands of the body. So any problem in the cardiac output, we know that we have an issue with the heart. We have some sort of cardiac disease. And there are two factors or key factors which contribute to the cardiac output. As we can see, the heart rate and the stroke volume. So the equation goes like this: the cardiac output is equals the heart rate and multiplied by the stroke volume. The heart rate, what is the heart rate? The heart rate is the number of contractions per minute, and usually for a healthy adult it is 60 to 100 beats per minute. And there are a lot of factors which might affect the heart rate. For example, the sympathetic nervous. The sympathetic nervous will increase the heart rate, whereas parasympathetic nervous system will decrease the heart rate. And we have also other hormones or hormonal signals like adrenaline and epinephrine, which might affect the heart rate as well. This is what heart rate is about. So what's heart rate? It's number of contractions per minute. What is stroke volume? It is the amount of blood pumped to the body by the left ventricle in each beat. So how much blood is pumped by the left ventricle in each beat? And this is affected by various factors like the volume of the blood which is pumped, the contractility, that's mean the force that the heart is beating, and the level of the resistance from blood vessels. And any changes in the stroke volume will affect the blood pressure. The more blood or more resistance will increase the overall pressure. And as we mentioned, or as we know, that the blood pressure measurement is typically includes two readings: the systolic blood pressure and diastolic blood pressure. The systolic blood pressure represents the pressure of the blood following the contraction of the heart, and the diastolic blood pressure represents the pressure of the blood while the heart is relaxed. So both factors that influence the cardiac output are explained now. So this is the heart rate and the stroke volume. The heart rate is the number of contractions per minute. The stroke volume is the amount of blood pumped by the left ventricle in each beat. In here we will be explaining terminologies like preload and afterload, because these terminologies are we hear it like constantly when we are talking about the heart function and the cardiac output. The preload and afterload, these are mainly, the preload is the degree of pressure, and the afterload is the degree of resistance. Whenever we hear about whenever we hear this terminology, we should connect it with the pressure. So preload for pressure, and this is the pressure that the ventricular can stand in order to be fully occupied by the blood. And afterload is the resistance that the ventricular must overcome in order to be pushed out to the circulation. So this is the summary of both the preload and afterload. I will not go into details because it is a bit complicated. We might go in details in the next slides or the next videos, I mean. This is to sum it up. So the cardiac output equals heart rate multiplied by the stroke volume, and the stroke volume, as we mentioned before, it's affected by three factors: the contractility, the force, the level of resistance from the blood vessels, and the volume of the blood in the body. But in here we have this equation to exactly this equation will help us to exactly count how much stroke volume is how much or how the stroke volume is calculated. So it is the end diastolic volume minus the end systolic volume. So what's the end diastolic volume? The end diastolic volume is how much, or the volume of blood which is received by the ventricle at the end of the relaxation phase. For example, if the left ventricle received 100 ml, that's mean that at the end of the relaxation phase, that's mean that 100 ml is our end diastolic volume. And the end systolic volume is the amount of blood which is remained in the left ventricular after the contraction. So after the blood is pushed out of the left ventricle, or after the end, or at the end of the contraction, there always be an amount or a volume of blood which is left out in the left ventricle. So suppose if the end diastolic volume is 100 and the amount of blood which is pushed out was 60, that's mean the end systolic volume which is remained in the left ventricular is 40. So how we count the stroke volume is that we will it's that the end of the diastolic volume minus the end of systolic volume, we will get the systemic volume. So this is the last slide. I hope this topic was interesting, and my way is my way of explaining things are easy for you guys. So we'll meet in the next video. Please stay tuned. Thank you. Bye bye.